Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings are being conducted virtually by electronic means through WebEx Webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx Webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch it on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting via their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All participants will be automatically muted upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the city staff, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute all other devices until you are called on to speak. Please only use one device at a time, as use of additional devices can cause static noise, which will interfere with the audio of this hearing. To ensure further audio clarity, we also suggest that you do not use the speakerphone function of your telephones. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled and you will be visible during your 5-minute allocated speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Members of the public and applicants are not allowed to use the share screen option and any other panelist controls during a video appearance. City staff will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. For all those who are waiting online, please ensure that you have called in with the phone number that you were originally registered to speak. If you call in with a different number, you will not be able to speak on the item. At this time, we'd like to make a very important land acknowledgement. We are participating in this public hearing today online and from the North York Civic Centre. We would like to begin this meeting with an acknowledgement that Indigenous communities have been part of this land and this area's history since time immemorial. We would like to acknowledge this land on which we reside and work with gratitude and respect. It is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and we are encouraged to reflect upon our commitments both collectively and individually in taking steps towards meaningful reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Now, in accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Nadini Sankar Peralta, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. And joining us on the panel today are some of our astute members, Nazila Atarodi, Member Paul Kidd, Member Giuseppe Bartolo, and a little later today, we'll have, Member Manning is there now. Thank you. And we are also joined by some really hardworking city staff. Present today with us is our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, Simon Lamb, and some very hardworking city staff, Sam Mozayani, Giovanna Rizzo, and Irvin Bridgeraj. Thank you. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone attending today who wants to receive a copy of the decision on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, email address, because the Committee of Adjustments and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances, the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government recently amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. As of November 28, 2022, only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedures are as follows. I will call each item in order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair if they still wish to speak to the item. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will ask you to summarize your remarks when you are reaching the 5-minute mark without exception. When addressing the committee, please state clearly your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters described in the application only. The applicant or agent proceeds first and will make their presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today to ensure that the revised application is accurate, and those that are all entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. The committee may decide to defer the application if it is substantially revised. The individuals either in support or opposition of the application will be invited to speak. If more than one individual wishes to speak to the application, we ask that you try not to repeat the points already made by others. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker, and after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers have finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only the issues that were raised by the previous speakers within a 5-minute time frame. This will mark the end of the discussion on the item. The application will then be taken into committee for decision. So I will ask the Deputy Secretary Treasurer around confirmation of minutes. I do deem that we have a few minutes to confirm here, and that is...
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, we have 4 sets of minutes to adopt, and the members who are present are on the list before you.
Okay, thank you so much. So we've got members, we've got June 8th, the most recent one, 2023. I was there, as well as Member Attarodi and Member Manning. Can I get a motion to adopt these minutes, please? Motion from Member Manning, seconded by myself, and all in favor. Those minutes have been passed. Okay, October 20th, 2022. The members present was myself, Member Attarodi, Member Kidd, and Member Manning. Can I get a motion to approve the October 20th, 2022 minutes, please? Member Kidd with a motion, seconded by Member Manning. All those in favor? These minutes have been carried. November 3rd, 2022. It was myself and Member Kidd. For these minutes, I'll put forward a motion to approve those minutes. And can I get Member Kidd seconds it? And those minutes are carried. December 7th, 2022. It was myself and Member Kidd as well. I'll put forward a motion to move those minutes, and Member Kidd seconds it. Those minutes have been carried. If no other minutes are documented, let's move on to any deferral requests for the morning session.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Did you confirm if there were any conflicts this morning?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Secretary Deputy Secretary Treasurer. Members, do we have any conflicts of interest to declare? I have none. There being silence, there are no conflicts of interest. Thank you so much for that, and let's move on to the deferrals. For the morning session, I believe we have one.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you very much. We have one deferral in the morning. It's item number 4, 574 St. Clements.
Okay, so 574 St. Clements, I'm going to be pulling that up right now. Members, if you can look to your item number 4. And in this, we've got the agent, Jillian Amos. Is Jillian Amos there?
Jillian Amos. I am the architect and agent for 574 St. Clements Avenue.
If you could state your address as well for our records.
Sorry, my address,
Yes.
my address, 626 Briar Hill Avenue.
Okay, thank you so much. And this is a proposal to construct a 2-story addition to rear of existing family dwelling and also remove an existing garage in the rear yard. There's no one to speak to this application. Can you give us a reason for why you're requesting this deferral?
Yes, I'm requesting a deferral based on the report from transportation. I've been working with them and we have come up with a solution, but the solution will require a revision to the variances for parking. And so I need time to change my drawing and have the zoning notice changed and recirculate the drawings.
Okay, that's no problem. Members, do you have any questions of this agent? There being none, can I get a motion for the deferral, please? Motion from Member Bartolo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'd like to put forward a motion to defer this application to allow the applicant to revise their drawings and resubmit. This would be a sine die.
Okay, motion from Member Bartolo to defer this application sine die, seconded by Member Kidd. All those in favor? Okay, ma'am, your application has been deferred sine die.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, that's it for deferrals in the morning. Why don't we move to item number 1?
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 1, and this is number 470, 490, and 500 Wilson Avenue. Members, this is an application to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 lots and create various assessments and right-of-ways. Please note that there is one area resident to speak to this application, and there is a transportation report that has no objection, but they would like some compliance with some specific conditions. So at this time, can I bring out the agent, Alexander Suriano?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair.
Yes, and can you state your name and address for our records, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Alexander Suriano. I'm legal counsel to the applicant in this matter. My address is 181 Bay Street, Suite 1800 in Toronto, Canada.
Okay, thank you so much. And perhaps you can provide us with a brief presentation on this, the merits of your application, as there is someone out here to speak to it.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to do so. For the purpose of my presentation, I'd like to refer to 2 specific documents. The draft R plan with architectural plans, if that can please be pulled up. And then later, I'd also like to refer to the table of easements. CollectDev is the owner of 470, 490, and 500 Wilson Avenue, the subject property. And it's currently being developed with 2 new mid-rise buildings. Now, the west building is a condominium, which you can see here. It's shown in green. The east building is a rental building, which is shown in pink. The site received zoning and has been approved. It also received site plan approval, and a site plan agreement was registered on the property in March 2002. The condo is currently under construction, and there is a draft plan of condominium application that's related, which is anticipated to be registered in the spring of 2024, and occupancy of the condo is anticipated in January of next year. The rental building is constructed and is scheduled for occupancy on August 1st, so coming up quite soon. There's shared underground facilities, which have also been constructed. Now, the reason for the consent is to create two parcels related to the condominium building. That's the retained lands, which you see here in green, and those are parts 13 to 25 on the reference plan. And the rental building, that's the pink building you see here, those are the conveyed lands. Those will be parts 1 to 12 on the reference plan. As I mentioned, the rental building will be ready for occupancy on August 1st, and the consent is required because there's an agreement with the purchaser for the rental building, who's a rental operator, and which requires the consent to proceed with that transaction. And as a result, the consent is needed as soon as possible to allow the transaction to move forward and for the occupancy of the building to take place at the end of the month, or at the beginning of next month, I should say. There are also a number of reciprocal easements which are being created by way of this consent. Those are easements for shared access to the underground garage, repair and maintenance of the building utilities and services, and certain shared facilities between the buildings. And you can see those shown here on the drawings. You can also see them listed in more detail in the table of easements which was submitted that explains the specific parts of both the retained and the conveyed lands and the easements between the two future properties. I can note that there is no need for any variances here to facilitate the severance. A zoning waiver was submitted. The site-specific zoning for this property contains the standard provision that despite any future severance, the provisions of the bylaw apply to the whole of the lands. And therefore, there is no concern with respect to the zoning here. In terms of the consent criteria under Section 5124 of the Planning Act, they have all been satisfied by this application. We reviewed the individual criteria in our cover letter to the Committee of Adjustment, and that was dated January 17th. In the interest of time, I won't go through them individually, but if that information is required, it is in our cover letter, which can be referenced by the committee. I will also note that pursuant to that same section, no plan of subdivision is necessary for the property to facilitate the severance, and as a result, they meet the statutory criteria. I'll turn now to the conditions and the comments which have been received. There were comments from the TRCA which simply confirmed that the lands are not in a regulated area, and therefore they had no comments. ECS also confirmed in their memorandum dated April 21st that they have no objections to the consent. They did not request any conditions. They provided advisory comments only. We've reviewed those. We have no concerns. Now, Madam Chair, you mentioned transportation services. They initially, in their memo dated May 19th, did have 3 comments for the applicant. There was an updated memorandum submitted yesterday, July 12th, from Transportation Services, confirming that all those conditions have been satisfied and are no longer required. The first comment was with respect to a note for a road widening on Faywood Boulevard as part of the plans. In a discussion with our transportation consultant, it has been confirmed that the widening has actually been provided already, and because Faywood Boulevard is not the frontage referenced in the severance, that this comment is no longer applicable and is not required. The second comment was with respect to a request to add coordinated values on the main corners of the property. An updated plan was submitted to Transportation Services by the applicant's transportation consultant by email on July 4th, 2023. That has been accepted, and as a result, this comment has been satisfied.
Yeah, I'll
The
ask you
third
to
comment from
please
Transportation.
summarize.
Thank you. The third comment is an advisory comment for revised municipal numbering, and that is a duplicate of city planning's comments. I'll also simply note that city planning, we understand, is requesting the standard consent conditions, which my client has reviewed. We have no concerns. There are 2 years to fulfill those. And as a result, Madam Chair, we are requesting that the committee approve the consent before it, and
Okay,
I'm happy
I'll
to
have
answer
to
any
stop you
questions.
there. So I'm members. Mr. Soriano, you've said that there's updated transportation comments. Our members haven't seen that in their package, but the city staff are pulling it up because likely they have received it first. We still have the old transportation report, which asks that they have no objections, but they do ask that there's specific conditions to apply. And now, members, if you can see that, we are getting something from transport. All right. So that's literally saying that the conditions no longer apply. We're just verifying this email to be. We're just going to verify if this is there is something formal from transport, because this looks just like an email that was sent in on July 12th. And we're trying to confirm who this is because this is not a regular normal transport account. So we're going to double check if the sender is from the City of Toronto. In the meantime, while we're doing that, how about we bring up, while you're verifying, we bring up the next speaker. Members, if you have no questions, we'll get back to Mr. Soriano, but let's hear from the next speaker, okay? So let's bring up Stephanie Singh. Ms. Singh, are you there?
Oh, hi there. Yes, thank
Yes.
you. My name is Stephanie Singh. My address is 15 Vinci Crescent. My phone number 416-809-7422. Is that
Okay, we don't
sufficient?
need your phone number on air, but what we'd like to hear from you is what you think about the application.
Okay, so I'm not entirely familiar with the technicalities of the communication that I received with the language, but my concern is that my property is located right behind the building. It's 15 Vinci. I don't know the lot number exactly, so I just wanted to understand exactly. I'm seeing that the division or the sever of the two properties, it's actually right in the middle of my property line, and I just wanted to ensure that there wasn't going to be any impact in terms of elevation or like the soil going down, or just any like infrastructural impact from my property onto there. Currently, the laneway is in the middle, separating the condo or the new property under development and my property, and the laneway is under. It's very chaotic right there. The water is pooling up. I don't know if that's eventually going to get repaired or fixed. But yeah, my concerns were basically mainly infrastructural. What are going to be the long-term consequences of the severing of the properties, if any?
Okay, some of those may actually be, related to construction, which may not fall into the purview of here, but I'd like to hear what Mr. Soriano does say. But members, do you have any questions of Ms. Singh before we move on? Okay, let's bring back on Mr. Soriano. Mr. Soriano, you've heard some of the comments that the neighbor has indicated. Maybe if you'd like to make a comment on that.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, and thank you to Ms. Singh for her comments. And I'm happy to confirm to Ms. Singh that the application that's before the committee here is a severance application. It's intended to simply divide the property, recognizing the two buildings that are already under construction on the site, once which is completed. There is no change to the build form. This is a matter of creating separate parcels, separate property ownerships. But in terms of the design of the building, the construction of the building, in terms of where the building is located, or features of the building. That is not changing. This is really drawing a line. If I can summarize it very crudely, perhaps, it's simply drawing a line on a map to demonstrate where the new property line boundaries will be. And again, that is to facilitate the conveyance of the rental building to a rental operator so that it can be occupied on August 1st. So in terms of Ms. Singh's question, whether there will be any impacts, whether this will result in any built form changes, I'm happy to confirm that will not occur. There will be no changes beyond what was approved in the zoning and through the site plan application, which are both approved and which are both completed. And so in terms of impact, there are no new impacts created as a result of this severance. In terms of some of the other comments which Ms. Singh raised, I do agree with the chair. They seem to be more construction related, my client is always happy to speak with the neighbors if they have any questions with respect to construction on the site. But in terms of their relationship to the severance application that's before the committee, they don't impact or they're not effectively a consideration for the purpose of the severance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Suriano. Members, do you have any questions of Mr. Suriano? And what we're going to do is we have verified that those emails were coming from the name of the individual who had, from Transport, who had done some prior work, and they're pulling it up just for us to see. Here, as you can see, going in, it's the same person, Mustafa's. Am I saying it correctly? That's his name? Okay, so no problems with Transport. Those conditions have been waived. Transport has no objections. If there are no further questions, can I get a motion? Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It appears as though this is an item that has been dealt with planning staff, and they have expressed no problems with this application. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application and make it subject to the standard conditions for consent.
Okay. So a motion from Member Kidd to approve this application subject to what's already in the report as standard conditions for consent. Can I get a seconder for this? Seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. Suriano. Your application has been approved.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the committee members and to staff.
Okay. Members, let's look on to item number 2, which is 129 Airdrie Road. This is an application to construct a new 2-story dwelling with a front porch, front balcony, rear walkout, rear deck, and rear balcony. There are 7 variances. There is a staff report of July 6th, which recommends elimination of variance number 5 and modification of variance number 6 and 7. There is 1 letter of objection, but no one here to speak to this application. I'd like to call out Ali Riza Saeed as the agent listed. Mr. Saeed, are you there?
Yes. Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Ali Riza Saeed. I'm the agent of this address. My address is 6021 Yonge Street, Suite 1007, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay. Members, Mr. Saeed, because of the staff report requesting changes, are you making any changes to this application?
Yes, I'm going based off the planning staff recommendation. I'm going to completely remove the item number 5.
So variance number 5 is eliminated. Variance 5 eliminated. Yeah. And what else?
And item number 6 and 7, both of them, the exterior portion of the sidewall height is changed from 8.10 meter to 7.8 meters.
Okay, so item number 6 and 7, the sidewall heights of 8.10 meters has been reduced to 7.8 meters. Okay, thank you for that. Members, do you require a presentation? If none required,
Yeah, I don't need a, I don't need a presentation, Madam Chair. I just, he broke up on the elimination of the other two. Is eliminating which ones? Just repeat that, please.
elimination of variance number 5 only, and only variances number 6 and 7 have been modified to 7.78 meters.
Perfect.
Okay, if no other questions and no presentation needed, can I get a motion then? Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the application as amended meets the 4 tests for minor variance. I put forward a motion to accept the application with the following changes. Variance number 5 to be eliminated. Variance number 6 to be changed from 8.1 meters to 7.8 meters. And variance number 7 to be the south side main wall height to be changed from 8 meters to 7.8 meters. And without condition.
All right, thank you so much, Member Kidd. With a motion to approve this application with those conditions that he stated, can I get someone to second this motion? Seconded by Member Bartolo. All those in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Mr. Saeed, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And
With those
thank you,
conditions.
committee. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Members, let's turn our attention to item number 3, which is 123 Santa Barbara Road. There is a couple of folks here to speak to this application. And it is 5 variances, forestry conditions. There is a letter of objection, but there's also 3 letters of support. Let's bring out Murat Ozgur. Mr. Ozgur, are you there?
And I am the agent for 123 Santa Barbara Road. My address is 231 Joyce Boulevard, Toronto.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Because there's a couple of folks here to speak to this application, if you could provide us with the 5-minute maximum presentation on the merits of it, and we can move on.
Yes, of course. All right, so item number 1, the side yard setback. The minimum side yard setback is 1.8 meters for the both sides. The proposed side setback is for the west side is 1.52 meters, which is, this house is an existing house. We are building a second floor. So this 1.52 meters is the existing setback. And on the east side, it's 1.32 meters, which is, this is the part where the front porch is. Normally, the house existing setback is 1.56 meters. Number 2, in an RD zone with a minimum required lot frontage of 18 meters or less, the permitted maximum building length for a detached house is 17 meters. The proposed building length is 17.64 meters, which is, again, the existing foundation. The part that is exceeding the 17 meter is, we have normally the original house, which is built, is it is 15.6 meters. But the addition at the rear, which is a small addition, which is extending 2.04 meters as the length, and the width of that extension is 3.73 meters. So it's not the whole width of the house. It's just a part of the house. Number 3 is the lot coverage, which is the permitted lot coverage is 30% in that area. And the proposed lot coverage is, we are asking 31.83 meters, so 31.83%, which is very common in this neighborhood. And also I have attached some examples if you want, if they can show that for us. So which shows the surrounding neighborhood, recent committee decisions. As you see, 126 Santa Barbara Road, and also Abbotsford Road, which is very close to this house. These are recent decisions for in 2023. And
Is that it? Are you okay?
also the fourth one, which is again related with the setback. This one is the platform, which is in the porch area. The platform without main walls attached to or less than 0.3 meters from a building with a floor no higher than the first floor of the building above established grade may encroach into the required front yard setback 2.5 meters. If it is no closer to a side lot line than the required side yard setback. So this is the part that I am mentioning, the porch area, which is encroaching to the front yard 1.88 meters, and the setback is 1.32 meters. So these are the 4 variances that we are asking.
Okay. If there's anything else, let's move on and ask committee members if they have any questions. Members, any questions? If not, we're going to move on to the next speaker noted, and that is Natalia Sviridova. Ms. Sviridova, are you there? We're just trying to get her online.
Through you, Madam Chair, Natalia has just left this meeting.
Okay, so perhaps she didn't want to talk, but she has the opportunity to dial back in before this application is heard, and if we don't see her online, we will move on. So let's move on to the next speaker, Mr. Nick Lin. Mr. Lin, are you there?
Through you, Madam Chair, Nick has been in contact with the owners of the property, and he no longer wishes to speak.
Okay. All right, so no one here to speak to this application. Members, and please let me know if you do see Ms. Natalia Sviridova on there. Okay, we're calling, but in the meantime, members, I'll just alert you to the fact that it's 5 variances, forestry. You would note on file that there is 1 letter of objection for you to read through, but there seems to be a bit of support, 3 letters that have been noted as supportive. And we'll just hold for 1 second just to see if Ms. Sviridova is coming online. If we don't mind pausing for 1 second. Okay. So we're not able to reach her. Likely she did not want to speak. So members, with that, do you have any questions of Mr. Osgur? And if no questions, can I entertain a motion? Motion from Member Bartolo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Given the explanation and the owner's existing condition, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the standard conditions of forestry.
Okay, motion from Member Bartolo to approve this application subject to forestry. Seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? This application has been unanimously approved with those conditions, Mr. Osgur. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Members, let's move on to item number 5, as item number 4 has been deferred. Item number 5 is number 8 Roberta Avenue. And 8 Roberta Avenue, this is an application to construct a new dwelling. Members, please note, there's no one here to speak to this item. There are 11 variances, forestry conditions. There is a transportation report of July 7th that had conditions. However, a new transportation report has surfaced, which staff will put on screen at the right time. There is a staff report of June 27th that asks us to refuse variances 3, 4, 7, and 11. And then there's also 2 letters of support. So let's call out the agent, Sarah Ifrah. Ms. Ifrah, are you there?
Hi, it's Sarah Ifrah.
And your address, please.
75 Dufflaw Road, Suite 201A, Toronto, M6A 2W4.
Thank you so much. So given the staff report, are you going to be doing anything with respect to the variances 3, 4, 7, and 11?
No, we're not going to revise those, but I do have, I mean, you've seen the document here that you've got up, but I can go through and just briefly explain them.
If you can just
again.
briefly explain yourself so that the members are aware of why you're not, considering the staff report. And you have considered it, but why your position is the way it is. So go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, so we did have some discussion with staff. I looked to remove the height variance, although really in the end, it was the combination of the 4 variances. So variance number 3, which talks about the wall height, if you kind of scroll down to drawing number P4, you can see in my presentation, in the presentation materials, P4 shows you exactly where that wall height issue is. And that's really, keep scrolling, yep. That's really only for the dormers on the 2 sides of the house. Now, again, those dormers are set back also further from the side lot line. So you can see they're highlighted in red. That's the wall height variance. So to me, in terms of impact, that did not feel very impactful. If we look at variance number 4, which if you scroll back up to P3, that's the overall height of the building. Now, again, I've presented this before as, visible versus not visible. We go for the entire overall height, which includes a portion that's sloped to drain, which is not actually visible from the street. So in terms of the overall roof height, again, we're talking about a foot over what would be the allowable roof height in the area for a 2-story dwelling, which again, the foot over has been approved a number of times. And I don't think, again, when we consider impact, that is a very impactful height. So the side wall and this overall height, to me, were not very impactful. Then when we get to variance number 7, which we're talking about the first floor height. So that I had to do in order to get a garage for 2 cars versus, you often see I bring proposals with a 1-car garage, but to get a 2-car garage and then have space for this large family, I had to raise it up versus taking the whole house and pushing it down like the other houses on the street. There are 2-car garages that are below grade at 16, 20, 22, and 28, but I chose the lesser of the 2 evils and decided to keep the garage at grade and put the house above. So that's the floor height. But again, that's happened right behind us at Brookview and Covington. If you scroll up to P2, I believe it is. No, one more. Sorry, P1. Yeah, exactly. So those 2 houses are right behind us, and they've got the same condition where they're raised up above the garage. And then the number of stories is really a technical variance because now we've brought that garage on grade. So our basement is considered floor 1. Our ground floor is considered floor 2, and our bedroom floor is considered floor 3. So in reviewing all of that, I couldn't really get rid of the first floor height because I'd have to push the whole house down and have a below grade garage, or end up without a 2-car garage for this family. Knowing that this has started in terms of development in the neighborhood, being right behind it, as well as other homes that I myself have worked on and have seen built in the neighborhood, there is this kind of once in a while having to raise up above the garage in order to accommodate a 2-car garage. Again, the family is a large family, a number of kids, and leaving the car out in the lovely Toronto winters really wasn't an option. And then again, we end up with a 1-car driveway. The jockeying of the cars is very complicated. So for the large family, they needed the entertaining space, the parking space. And when I say entertaining, again, it's not because they're throwing parties. It's because when you have 7 children or 8 children or 10 children, they get married and all of a sudden it becomes 20 children. Every Friday night, Friday night and Saturday lunch, we have what's the equivalent of a Christmas dinner. So everybody comes, they cannot drive, so they need to stay there or be within walking distance. They join them for the, Sabbath and holiday meals. So that, creates a dining room, living room area that have to be larger. So pulling a 2-car garage onto grade, we would have lost all of that space. So that was a decision made, looking at the neighborhood, seeing literally right behind us, looking at, the below grade garage houses that are a couple doors down.
Okay,
and
I'll ask you
making
to
a
summarize,
choice
please.
Yep, and yes, and making a choice to choose this type, which again is becoming more prevalent in the neighborhood, both in new builds as well as renovations, where you've got a house that has, a plan already, where we then build up above the garage and build the bedroom floor above that. It's considered 3 stories as well, but it is a technical variance. There are not 3 stories in this house. And with that, if there are any questions, again, we've got support from the neighbors. Transportation is fine. Trees, we know what to do. It's just the staff report. And again, we considered it, but it wasn't something that we could really adjust.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Ifrah. In the meantime, I'll ask committee members if they have any questions, and staff, if maybe you would want to put up the latest transportation report so that our members can see that and to determine what it says. But members, in the meantime, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask it. So this is this is the report we had on filed with that I had seen saying application is okay with conditions. If you can go down.
Yeah.
I'm just telling staff members if they can go down to the comment area and the conclusion. So this was it. I mean, we had received this in our package. Was there anything newer, everyone? There's nothing else? Okay. So it's the same reports that we had received after by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer. And these are sort of the conditions that, they recommend. So a bit of some standard conditions there. So that being said, we've got, again, 11 variances, forestry applies, the transportation conditions, the 2 letters of support from neighbors on either side of the property, on each side, as well as the staff report that's asking for refusal of some variances that were offered an explanation by the agent. Can I get a motion? And if you do need time to discuss amongst yourselves, feel free and take it into committee and discuss if this may be difficult. Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the light of the city planning staff report, I'm not really persuaded by the the applicant's explanation that this is in fact the question of the two stories versus 3 stories is really a technical issue. The fact that the finished floor is 2.74 meters, like 9 feet above grade. That seems like a second story to me. I'm not persuaded that I still have concerns about the height of the building and the fact that I feel it is in fact a 3-story building and not appropriate for this neighborhood. I'm going to put forward a motion to refuse the application.
Motion from Member Kidd to refuse the application. Can I have someone to second that? Seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? And opposed? Member Bartolo dissenting. Ms. Ifrah, your application has been refused.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, members. Let's move on then to item number 6, which is item number 6 is 28 De Quincy Boulevard. Members, this is a proposal to construct a new dwelling. And please note, members, that there is no one here to speak to this application. It's 6 variances. They do have forestry conditions that apply. There's quite a number of letters of support, 8 to be exact, and staff report has just some standard recommended conditions. I'll bring out the agent, Drew Laszlo. Mr. Laszlo, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Drew Laszlo, agent for the owner. My address is 193 Rowe Avenue, Toronto.
Great. Members, in light that there is no one to speak to this application, do you require a presentation? Member Kidd, yes, you do? Absolutely.
I have a question for the agent, if I could. I noticed that the Urban Forestry is recommending a deferral on this application. If you could, are you considering that, or maybe you can just address that comment?
Yeah, and if you would like to actually provide a bit of a presentation, if it supports around the deferral, feel free. I'll give you 5 minutes to respond to Member Kidd's question, as well as, just provide whatever is necessary in terms of a presentation that you feel will talk to the merits of your application.
Yes, there is one tree at the back corner of the proposed house. We are encroaching within the tree protection zone of that tree. We've had an arborist out there. We will be submitting all the appropriate permits to injure that tree. We won't be removing that tree. So I'm not really sure why Forestry wants to actually refuse the application, but we are going to get I don't want to say a standard permit to injure that tree, but as we typically do, we will apply and work with Forestry to get all appropriate permits. So again, I'm not sure why they want to refuse the entire application.
Well, and staff
It's
is
not even a large encroachment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's not even a large encroachment into the tree protection zone to begin with.
Yeah, actually, they're not asking for a refusal. They're asking for a deferral on this.
Oh, deferral. Oh, okay. My mistake. I was even unaware of that forestry notice, so I apologize about that.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't believe it warrants a deferral. We will work with them to get whatever permits are required, as we always do. Thank you.
And even if it's subject to forestry, you'd still have to work with them anyway if we make it subject to forestry. So,
of course.
Members, do you have any other questions or requiring any further information? Member Attarodi, go ahead.
To you, Madam Chair, I would like to ask explanation regarding variance number 3, number of stories, 3 versus 2, and also variance number 5, lot coverage of 41.59 versus 30%, which is permitted. Thank you.
Yes, of course. So variance number 3, which is touched upon in the staff report, I'm just stressing that it's entirely technical in that the basement is being counted as the first floor, in that it's not deep enough in the ground. Unfortunately, in order for this to be considered a two-story dwelling, which it actually is, okay, again, this is very technical, we would have to drop the basement slab so it is 8 feet in the ground. And again, not to get too sort of, technical with my explanation exactly, there we go. We would have to have a 16-foot high basement in order for the basement not to be counted as the first floor. And in my opinion, that's a bit unrealistic. So as a result, they are counting the basement as the ground floor because it's closer to the established grade than the actual ground floor is. So again, very technical in nature. Variance number 5, again, technical in that because we're excavating under the rear deck, it's included in the coverage calculation. And this is mentioned in the staff report as well. In actuality, the above grade portion of the house is 34.34%, which is normal for the neighborhood. So planning staff had no issue with that. Again, the 41.59%, technical in that it's only because we're excavating below the rear deck for our basement, so we can extend our basement underneath. Thank you.
Member Attarodi, does that go ahead, please?
Yes, and would you please just put the staff report on the screen, because I didn't get it in my package. Because Mr. Laszlo referred.
There is a staff report of July 10th recommending just some standard conditions, and staff is pulling that up. And as they're pulling that up, it didn't get in the package, but it was sent by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer separately. They're just saying that the proposal be developed in accordance with the east and west side elevation drawings and the rear elevation drawings submitted to the committee. That's the condition. If that suffices, Member Attarodi, I would ask if anyone else, or Member Attarodi as well, you have any questions further to this? Member Kidd, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, this is somewhat similar to the previous application, which I propose that we refuse based on this whole question around whether it's actually a 2-story or 3-story building. My objection to the last application was the first story was 9 feet above grade. Can you just tell me what the height of the main story, the first story is above grade in this particular application?
Yes, of course. In this case, if you bear with me for one moment, please. For this house, the ground floor is 8 feet, slightly over 8 feet above the grade.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That being said, are there any other questions from committee members? Okay, there being none, can I get a motion? Give members a moment to consider all that there is. So there's considerations around, the deferral request. We've kind of discussed that a little bit. Member Kidd raised some concerns around, this seeming similar to previous applications and, the basis for refusal. Member Kidd, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the main difference I see between the last application and this one is that the main entrance is much lower. There's no requested variance for the height of main entrance. I'm going to go with the planning staff recommendation that this application be accepted, subject to the planning staff condition that the proposal be developed in accordance with the east and west side elevation drawing and the rear elevation drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, date stamped June 30th, 2023, and attaches attachments 1, 2, and 3 to the planning staff report, and subject to forestry conditions.
If we are subjecting it, okay, so yes, absolutely. So Member Kidd with a motion to approve this application, subject to all those conditions that he cited. Can I get someone to second that motion? Seconded by Member Bartolo. All those in favor? And, oh, Member Attarodi as well. So all those opposed? Member Manning dissenting. So your application, Mr. Laszlo, has been approved with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, members, we'll move on for a couple more and then we can take a break if that's okay, but just let me know whatever you need, as well as city staff teams. Let's move on to 287 Hillcrest Avenue, and that is Shadi Arani, who is the speaker coming up for this. Members, there is 3 variances, forestry conditions, and a staff report of June 28th that asks for revisions that had been agreed upon to be made. So, Shadi Arani, are you there?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, hi there. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Shadi Arani from 685 Shepherd Avenue East.
Okay, and based on the staff report, are there any revisions that you're making today and would like to discuss with us?
Yes, so we submitted revised drawings on June 29th, and we made the revisions based on staff recommendation, modifying all the 3 variances.
All right, so if you can state what those changes are for our records, and so that the members note it. What is it changing from? Which variance? From what to what?
So variance number 1, the west side setback to be increased from 1.2 meters to 1.4 meter. Variance number 2 for the lot coverage to be reduced from 33% to 32.4%. And lastly, variance number 3 for the height of main walls to be reduced from 8.1 meters to 8 meters.
8 meters. Okay, so we've got number 1 changing to 1.4 meters, number 2 to 32.4%, and variance number 3 to 8 meters. And members, do you require a presentation on this? We have no one else to speak to this application. Okay, there being none, we've got 3 variances, as you note. They have complied with the staff report of June 28th, making the changes that I've just cited, and there's forestry. Can I get a motion, please? Member Attarodi with a motion.
Yes, to you, Madam Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application subjected to urban forestry memo and also the application revised as follow. Variance number 1, the west side yard setback is now 1.4 meters. Variance number 2, The lot coverage is 32.4%. And variance number 3, the proposed sidewall main height is now 8 meters. That's the motion.
Okay, thank you, Member Atarodi, with a motion to approve with those conditions that she's listed, seconded by Member Bartolo. All those in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved, Ms. Arani, with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, members, we'll move on to item number 8, and then we could take a break afterwards if that's okay. That is item number 8 is number 24 Headington Avenue. And this is a proposal to construct a new dwelling. Members, there are 6 variances. There are forestry conditions. On your files, you'll note 1 letter that has been submitted as objection. And we've got someone here to speak to this application, an area resident. So let's call out the agent or owner, Tay Rook. Tay Rook.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Tay Rook. I am the planner for the owners of the property at 24 Headington Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Rook, if you wouldn't mind providing us with a brief presentation on the merits of your application, as someone is here to speak to this.
Sure. I had provided presentation slides, and I'm sure the committee members have seen them. The variances before you today relate to side yard setback, FSI, main wall building heights, setbacks to the porch and its canopy in the front yard. What you have in front of you is a site plan, and what you see outlined in red, the dotted outline, is the existing dwelling that's existing on the site today. You'll note that it is actually located closer to the side yard, north side yard lot line. And that side yard setback at the bump out, where it bumps out at the bottom of the plan, is 0.16, and the remainder of the building itself is 0.36. And we're proposing a 0.61 setback with the front porch, the canopy that covers the porch, in addition to the itself. When you go to the next slide, you'll see a map that's been highlighted in purple. Those are properties that have side yard setbacks where the existing context of the area is one in which the side yard setbacks are not complied with, either on one side or on both sides. And as you could see in the existing house and in existing survey and site plan, the existing side yard on the north side does not comply. But however, the proposed dwelling is situated further back from the existing circumstance. There is variances related to FSI at 0.79, and the next map, what you see is a range of properties within the same block, and in addition to the surrounding areas, as high as up to 0.93 in the area. We're proposing, 0.98 in the area, and we're proposing 0.79. This is more than consistent with what's been approved or existing within the neighborhood context. You'll note that the overall height and the overall building length is in compliance with the proposal. The building length is 16.7 or 17 meters is permitted. The overall height is complied with. There is side yard main wall height variances with the side walls. However, I would submit to the committee, given the massing and the way this dwelling has been deployed on the property, with the shorter building length, in addition to the fact that the height of the dwelling overall height is in compliance with the bylaw. The sidewall main wall heights are more than consistent with the existing dwellings in the area. What you'll note that because this is a flat roof, if this had a pitch roof on the proposal, none of the variances related to with the height, and it would, with the main wall height, would even exist. And I would submit to you, having the pitch roof would create a bigger massing and create possible additional shadows to the adjacent neighbors. With that being said, we have been in discussion with planning staff. They have no issues with this proposals. They have not provided any conditions. We are aware of the forestry comments, which is requiring for a tree permit or application to be submitted, and we're satisfied with that condition. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Great, thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions? of Mr. Rook? All right, if none, we do have one person noted to speak here, and that's a Dimitra Zervas. Dimitra Zervas, are you there? If you could state your name and address for our records, please.
Hello, my name is Dimitra Zervas. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
I live at 20 Headington Avenue, and I'm the south neighbor right next door to the building. I have concerns with variance number 5, which is the FSI max floor space index. The permitted maximum floor space index is 0.6 times the area of the lot, and the proposed floor space index is noted as 0.79 times the area of the lot, which is 24% greater. However, this does not include any of the finished areas of the upper basement and the lower basement, which makes it an actual FSI much larger than the 24%. In the previous application dated March 2023, the FSI was listed at 1.16, which was denied. Based on the plans, the front, back, and side setbacks have not changed. However, what has changed is that the home is bigger because they've added a lower basement in addition to the upper basement. The lower basement is proposed to be 18 feet and 6 inches below finished ground floor. And in the March 2023 application, there was only one basement, which was 12 feet and 3 inches below finished ground floor. There was no lower basement. So in reality, the FSI is much bigger. It's just it's being hidden by the basements. I'm also opposed to the variance number 2 around height. The proposed height of the south side and north side exterior main walls facing a side lot is 9 meters. This is a variance of 5 feet. This is not a minor variance, but a large one, and this is not in form of the other homes in the area, and it will impact shadows on my property as well as privacy.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions of Ms. Zervas? If none being,
I also, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I also, I forgot to mention that in the forestry report, it does recommend a denial of the application.
I will see and note if that is completely true from our perspective. Our team will pull up the forestry report, but in the meantime, let's get Mr. Rook back onto the microphone. And Mr. Rook, you've heard some of the concerns that were stated by Ms. Zervas. If you'd like to rebut, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Sure, Madam Chair. Dear committee, this application was before you previously, and it ran into the same situation as your previous application with the basement being calculated as part of FSI. At that time, that provision was relatively new, and I believe committee, in their wisdom, decided that the number was large. However, what this proposal has done in order to bring the FSI number down to 0.79 was in actuality what was described by your previous application to lower the basement even further to provide for and to be within the definition of not being a floor within the new provisions of the bylaw. That's what's happened. So in terms of additional FSI being provided on the site, that is not the case. We merely changed the proposal, dug deeper to have the basement be not included as part of the FSI calculation, and that results in the 0.79 number. With regards to height, as I indicated earlier, this application, if it had a pitch roof, would actually, in actuality, be 1 meter taller. It would actually probably provide for additional massing to the adjacent properties. In addition to that, main wall height variances would not exist. This proposal, as it's provided to you from a streetscape perspective, the main walls will be consistent in terms of each of height with adjacent two-story dwellings within the area. Furthermore, the massing of this dwelling, as indicated before, is at 16.79 versus 17, which is shorter than what's permitted. And this was done constantly, tried to provide for a transition within the adjacent neighbors to provide for more buffering and to provide less impact. In addition to the fact that we comply with the side yard setback on the south side, in addition to providing a greater setback on the north side to center the building more onto the property, once again, in an attempt to provide for more of a buffer to adjacent dwellings. With regards to forestry, I'm looking at the comments right now. They're just offering condition number 1, their comments, which is a submission of an application to permit or remove city-owned trees. Once again, we have no issues with that condition. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you so much. And members, with respect to the comments made by Ms. Zervas on the forestry, please note that it is, forestry is not denying, they're just giving condition number 1. Okay, so that being said, do you have any questions from the agent, Mr. Rook? Yes, go ahead, Member Kidd.
I heard the agent say that there was a previous application for this property. I don't have a record of that in my files. Can you just can that be brought up, or is that in fact true that there was a previous application here?
Okay, well, city staff is looking into it in the meantime. And if, as they're looking into it, are there any other questions from you, Member Kidd, or any other members in the meantime? Okay, there being none, we're going to just pause for a second just to pull up any previous applications if there could be found. So city staff is working diligently to double check for us. After this one, I'll just let you know we'll take a bit of a break, like a 10-minute break, and we'll come back to item number 9 afterwards, which is 110 Franklin Avenue. We'll just pause for a moment. Okay, we're pulling that up right now. And it was of March 23rd, 2023. The minor variance application was refused. Member Kidd, if there are specific aspects of this you need to see, please let us know.
I guess my question for the agent is if he can tell us if there is, sounds to me like the main difference between these two applications is that you've dug the basement deeper to allow it to be considered a 2-story rather than a 3-story building. Was that the main change that you made?
Through you, Madam Chair. That is correct. And you'll note the elevations are also different as well. You'll note that it's the previous form was what was technically considered a 3-story because the basement was not dug deep enough. However, and that was the basis of the fact that the FSI number was so high because of the changes to the bylaw. And that was the basis of the reason why the committee refused the application, because the number was so high. What's different about this application is one is that it's no longer a pitch roof, it's a flat roof, and that was done intentionally once again to provide less massing to the adjacent properties. In addition to that, we did dig the basement deeper to get out of the technical aspect of the fact that the basement is built as a story, as a floor, and creating this large number. So yes, the basement has been dug in deeper, and that results in the 0.79 number. But in terms of adding to the house, to the width or to the length of the dwelling, we have not done so. We have not gone higher or nothing of that sort. We just dug deeper to basically be in compliance with the bylaw to consider the basement to be actually the basement under the bylaw.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, you've noted what the speaker has said, you've noted what the neighbor has said, you've noted forestry, there's one letter of objection, 6 variances, and we see what has been done in the past. Can I get a motion? Motion from Member Bartolo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, through you. In listening to the applicant here and understanding the setbacks in the neighborhood, as well as the fact that I don't really see how a deeper basement has a negative impact on the neighbors and their enjoyment of the neighborhood. I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the conditions of the urban forestry memo attached.
All right, thank you. Motion from Member Bartolo to approve, subject to forestry. Can I get someone to second it? Seconded by Member Manning. All those in favor? Unanimously approved. Mr. Rook, your application has been approved with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank
Members,
you very much.
Yeah, let's take a 10-minute break. I'll see you back at 11:43. Thank you. Members, I'll ask you to return to your lovely home stations. All right. Sorry, we've got a little bit of sneezing in the background here. If you hear that. Okay, so we'll move on, and let's while members are coming back, I'd like to turn our attention now to item number 9, which is 110 Franklin Avenue. And members, 110 Franklin Avenue, there's no one to speak to this. It's just 2 variances. Let's call out the agent, Randall Dickey. Mr. Dickey, are you there?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of committee. My name is Randall Dickey. My address is 446-1111 Davis Drive in Newmarket, and I'm the authorized agent for the property owner.
Great, and this is an application to construct a new dwelling. As I said, members, there's no one here to speak to this. Do you require a presentation? There being none, can I get a motion? Motion from Member Manning. Member Manning, you're muted.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. I think this is a very straightforward application. Both variances are quite minor, and I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
Okay, motion from Member Manning to approve this application as is. Can I get someone to second that? Seconded by Member Bartolo. All those in favor? Unanimously approved without condition. Mr. Dickey, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great. Members, let's move on to item number 10, which is a 32 Hoyle Avenue. Please note, members, that this is an application to construct a new dwelling. There are 9 variances. Forestry condition applies. There is 2 letters of objection that were on file. The members who wanted to speak to this are no longer on the call. They've worked it out with the owner. So on the file, we've just got the agent or owner, and the one person that's left to speak is actually the agent who's not really speaking as well, or the owner who's not speaking. So, yes? Okay, sorry. We've just been informed that one more person has dialed in. So let's call out the agent on file here, Arshad Siddiqui. Arshad Siddiqui, are you there?
Hi, good morning, Chair Committee member.
If you could state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Arshad Siddiqui, address 3485 Rebecca Street, Oakville. And I am the authorized agent for the owners at property 32 Hoyle Avenue. I am joined here by principal of One by One Design. So she would like to present the variance presentation.
Okay,
Good
yes.
morning, Madam Chair.
Can I get your name and address,
Can I
please?
get your name and address, please? Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and the esteemed members of the committee. My name is Hilda Mohseni. I'm the principal at One by One Design. We're located at 1131A Leslie Street, Northwark, Ontario. We're the firm hired by the owner of 32 Hoyle, which are Kirby and Jason Myers, who have purchased the lot at 32 Hoyle. I wanted to present our case to the committee this morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to mention that the new design for the 32 Hoyle has been in accordance and respect to the Committee of Adjustments decision on 32 Hoyle approved through Committee of Adjustment on July the 14th, 2022. And we have stayed within the Committee of Adjustment compliances and requirements of the old design that was handed to the Committee of Adjustment by the Rubinoff design. I will quickly go through all the variances that the staff had brought up in the report that was submitted to us in July the 6th. And I wanted the committee to know that since the July the 6th, we have made resolutions both with neighbors that right now at the moment are satisfied, as well as complied to the few of the Committee of Adjustments requirements. I will go through them very quickly. For in regards to variance number 1, which is the vehicle entrance through the front main wall, our design is in accordance to the Committee of Adjustment approval of 32 Hoyle presented by Rubinoff during the July 14th of 2022. We have stayed within the same parameters. As to variance number 2, which is the platform size of 4 square meter, we have spoken since with the neighbors and we have changed the design back to the 4.0 square meters, which is in compliance with the Committee of Adjustment decision and requirements. As for number 3 variance, which is required side yard setback of a platform is 1.8 meters. The staff had previously approved 1.3 meters. However, because of respect to our neighbor, we have pushed it back to 1.49 meters, which now will satisfy the committee's request. As for variance number 4, minimum required side yard setback, for July the 14th, 2002, 32 Hoyle approved designed by Committee of Adjustment. For the Rubinoff design, we have stayed within those parameters, and that design, which has been approved for this location, has taken precedence, and we have stayed within those approved dimensions and setbacks. For number 5 variance, which is the minimum required front yard setback of 4.79 meters, when measuring the front setback from the main entrance door and the garage to the street, we're at 5.64 meters, which is actually even within what 32 Hoyle originally was. So we have actually satisfied that need as well. In regards to the variance number 6, which is a maximum permitted building depth of 17 meter, for the July 14th of 2022 of 32 Hoyle approved Committee of Adjustment, it was approved for 18.3, and we have stayed within the 18.3. So we have complied with the requirements and have stayed within what was previously approved. For variance number 7, which is the permitted height, which for number 40, I would like to bring to the attention of the committee that number 40 Hoyle, which is just a couple of houses over, has been approved to 8.5 meters. And within the same neighborhood for number 599 Sudan and number 665 Sudan, each one of them respectively was approved for 9.5 meters and 9.97 meters. We at 8.76 meters are well within those requirements in the neighborhood. And what we're asking for is just another 10 inches higher than 40 Hoyle, which is 4 to 4 houses over. In regards to number 8 variance, which is permitted floor space index, for number 32 Hoyle, previously approved by the Committee of Adjustment, we have stayed within the same parameters. As also you can see, we have mentioned 44 Gilgorm, which is just a couple of streets over. They also have a very similar design, and they were also approved for the index. And then also, if you look at, you just approved this morning.
Okay,
the
you only
28
have 5
Quincy.
seconds. Can you finish your sentence, please?
Yes, you just approved the 28 Quincy, which had the same conditions. And number 599 Sudan was also approved for the
Okay.
same, for 100%.
I'm going to stop you there right now. All right, thank you. Your time is up. Members, do you have any questions? I know I do. I just wanted to ask about the staff report. Can you comment a bit about the fact that the staff is recommending refusal? Give us a bit more. You've gone through a presentation, but give us your perspectives on that.
In reports to the staff report, we have complied with all of the requests. Since the date of their report on July the 6th, we have submitted new designs that will satisfy the requirements. So we have been respectful to their comments, and we have actually submitted documentations for 665 Sudan, 599 Sudan, 32 Hoyle, and 44 Gilgorm, and have made the changes that they had requested. So we believe that we have satisfied all of their requirements through our submittals and the precedences that we have forwarded since their report.
We don't have an updated staff report. Can you tell me, was there modifications that you made that you would like to share with the committee members?
I'll allow our architect Arshad to speak to you in this regard.
Yeah, through you, Chair, staff was asking us to make 3 changes.
Okay.
The platform area, side yard setback of platform.
What I'd
and
like you to
the,
do is tell us what variance number it is and what it's changing from to what.
Right. So the variance number 2, our proposal was originally 7.91 square meter and 0.3 meter for the setback. 1.07 meter for the setback. Staff was supporting the area, but requesting the setback to be revised to 1.3. We have revised both area and setback to 1.49 and 4 square meters to satisfy them.
Okay, so far all I've heard you say is variance number 3 has been changed from 1.07 meters to 1.3 meters.
1.3 meter was requested by staff, and we made it 1.49.
Oh, so you are now changed. So variance number 3 has changed from 1.07 meters to 1.49 meters. What?
Correct. And variance number 2 is not applicable. We make the
I would
zoning
ask
bylaw.
that you turn off all other devices because I'm hearing myself echoing, and I've said that at the beginning of our committee. Please only have one device working at a time. So if we can move on now, we've got that for number 2. Item number 2, is there an item, other variances to modify? Item number 3, sorry. Yeah.
So, variance number 2 is not applicable. 3, we have satisfied the staff request for the.
Can you just tell us what's the
FSI.
next variance that you're modifying?
The other 2 requests staff had was about the FSI and the building side exterior wall heights. So we have provided them the precedence that how we are within the allowed.
So you're not
approved,
making any other
applications.
changes to the request of variance number 8 and the variance number 7.
7 and 8.
Okay, 7 and
Yeah.
8. So only number 3 changes to 1.49 meters. Okay, so in the absence of seeing any other new staff reports, this staff report still stands with the changes that you've made. Members, do you have any questions of, yes, Member Bartolo, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just trying to confirm something here. Based on the information that I've heard and seen, my understanding is variance number 2 has been changed to 4 meters. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
That's correct. And it
Okay,
was
variance
zoning
number
bylaw.
3 has been changed to 1.49 meters. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And variance number 5 has been changed to 3.94 meters.
3.94 is the main floor office projection on the covered porch, and if we see the covered porch wall, the main entrance wall, that is
Right, sorry.
5.64.
I'm happy to get into the explanation. I'm just trying to understand the raw numbers right now. Is 3.94 for variance number 5 correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Are there any other changes that you proposed for the variances?
Variance number 6, we have reduced the building depth to 18.3 instead of 18.37.
Okay, 18.37. Let's mark that down. Any others?
Go ahead. Sorry, continue. Variance number 6, you were saying?
Yes, we have revised it to 18.3 as previously approved.
18, so from 18.37 to 18.3, right? 7 centimeter reduction.
Yes.
Okay, are there any other revisions?
No. No other.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, could you repeat the change to number 2? Oh, no, number 3, sorry.
Number 3, the request was for 1.07 meter setback. Staff was supporting 1.3 based on the new shape of this platform.
It's 1.49 meters.
revised
We don't
setback
need
is
the extra
1.49.
explanations. It's 1.49 meters. Let's move on. Deputy Secretary Treasurer has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I confirm your change to variance 5? It sounds like you made it worse.
Make it better.
We actually
front.
we have made it better from by pushing the covered porch in the back side. So
This is the front yard setback.
It
front yard
can't
setback.
be, it can't
So
be
we have
smaller.
made it 5.64 from the main entrance wall. So
Which is similar to 32 Hoyle that was approved originally.
I'm sorry, but you
July-
seem to be making it worse because you've said to us 5.94 meters. And really, it should be, sorry, you said 3.94 meters. So you're reducing it from 4.21 to 3.94 meters when the ask or the minimum setback is 4.79. So you've actually made it worse.
We're exceeding the minimum. We're exceeding the minimum requirements.
The minimum is 4.79. You've proposed 3.94. How is that making it better?
We're proposing 5.64.
So I didn't hear that. I heard 3.94. And I'm getting kind of really confused because in the beginning I've asked for you to state what you're changing from what to what. You told me only one item. You spoke with Member Bartolo. Now it turns out 5 items. And then now with the items you're telling us, you're changing the story. What is it? So let's get this
let me clarify.
confirmed once and for all with just a yes or a no. Item number 2 is reduced to 4 meters. Item number 3,
Yes.
yes or no? Right. Number 3, 1.49 meters.
Yes.
Number 6, 18.3 meters.
Yes.
And then now number 5 is what's questionable. I've heard you say 3.94. I've now heard 6 point something. What is it?
From the front door.
3.94 from the covered porch and 5.64 from the main entrance wall.
Which is similar to
So
32 Hoyle.
we believe that the original zoning notice was taking the dimensions from the
Okay.
upper floor of this. So
I'm going to
that's
stop
what
you
we are
there
trying to
because
clarify.
I want to have our Deputy Secretary Treasurer weigh in because now we're altering the application in a way that may not be sound for how we're going to be, talking about these variances. So go ahead, sir.
Through you, Madam Chair. First, I would like to suggest that only one person speak at a time. I think that's contributing to sort of the confusion and also the echo that we are hearing. Some of our panel members are hearing a bad echo from their end, and it may be because whether you're on a conference call or there's a second audio device on, but it's producing quite a bad echo for some of our members. With regard to variance 5, there is only one number before us, 4.21 as your requested variance. If you're changing it, it cannot be lower than that, otherwise you're making it worse. We only have one number before us on a public notice.
So we're not going to negotiate changes here today. These modifications are quite a lot. And I'm allowing them as is, but number 5, we are not going to be, making nuances with words and trying to come up with something. It's either you make the change right now to something better for one number in number 5, or leave it as is. While you're considering that, what I'd like to do is
Yeah.
I'm going to bring out the next speaker that's noted on here. And I do know that there is another agent on the line, but we already have two of you speaking, so I'm not going to go to them because they're obviously supporting the application. So let's move on to Rob King. Members, do you have any questions before we move on to the next speaker? I think I saw Member Kidd with his hand up, if that's correct or no.
I do have another question, if I could.
Yes, please.
I noticed in the variance number 3 that they're asking for a proposed west side yard setback to the platform. The west side of the house is the rear of the house. Should that read north or south side yard? The side yards are on the north and south side, or if that's misworded.
Madam Chair, I was muted when we were discussing variance number 5. So can I present a 1-minute clarification on that?
I'm sorry, can you hold on 1 second and just respond to Member Kidd's question first before we move on?
Sure. So, Madam Kidd, can you repeat your question?
With regard to variance number 3, you're asking for the variance to the proposed west side yard setback. The west side of the house is the rear of the house. I'm not should that?
Yeah, only the platform. This is the setback from the platform or deck to the property line, not the entire house. The variance
not be an east or a north or a south side yard setback?
It is the south side. The platform was earlier 1.07 meter from the property line. We have made it 1.49.
Yes, I understand, but should it not read the proposed south yard setback, not the west side yard setback?
You're looking at the existing house on the screen, so
no, I'm looking at the variance of public notice.
Yes. The variance in the letter from city says west, but it should be south. Yeah, there's a typing error in this letter from the public notice letter.
Okay, so there seems to be a bit of an error. There's confusion around exactly what these variances should or shouldn't say. We do have one speaker on the line that I know Rob King wants to talk to this, but I, as chair, I can make a motion. And so for this instance, I'm going to actually, request a deferral of this application, sine die, for them to have a chance to work out exactly what's needed, because this is really taking a lot of time. And there's things that need to be fixed in this application and again republished. So before I get to you, Member Manning, is that a question or were you trying to second? No? Okay. Before we do that, I just want to check with the other person on the line, Mr. King. If you can bring him out, Mr. King, are you there?
Hello?
Hi there. I think if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
For sure. My name is Robert King, and I'm at 29 Hoyle Avenue. I'm across the street from the proposed property.
Right. So I think you've been hearing what's been going on, and with the confusion, I'm putting forward a motion to defer this application. If that's the case, I just want you to speak only to the deferral. Are you okay if we defer this so that they can sort of work these details out in the right manner so that they can come back more prepared at committee, as well as if there is an error in the application, that needs to also be, circulated publicly?
I'm okay with that as long as I can get an advance notice. My biggest concern was that I didn't receive this notice. It was mailed on or before July 3rd. I really didn't get it until July 3rd, and the deadline for submissions was July 6th. 3 days is not adequate to respond. I also don't want to then have to bring up additional concerns that I have that have not been discussed on this call.
Right.
You know,
So
at a deferred.
what I'd like to do, we're not going to talk about those concerns, but I will ask the agent to reach out to you if this deferral does go through so that he can address your concerns as well. Okay, and they're hearing this and it's in a public notice, so that's what we're going to do, is have him reach out if that's the case. And city staff has noted around giving you, you know, the ample notice that's necessary. Okay? All right, thank you so much. So let's come back and members, I'm putting forward a motion to defer this application sine die to give them a chance to not only correct it, but to come more prepared to city staff with what exactly they need, and to reach out and speak with the member, Rob King, to ensure that he's satisfied with how they're proceeding. Can I get a seconder for that? Seconded by Member Manning. All those in favor? Okay, unanimously approved. Mr. Siddiqui and Hilda, your application has been deferred sine die. Thank you. Okay, moving on, members, to item number 11. Item number 11 is 156 Glen Park Avenue. 156 Glen Park Avenue is an application to construct a new cabana. Please note, members, that there's two variances. There is one letter of objection, and there is someone here to speak to this application in video. There's also someone who wants to support it, but she may not actually be able to attend due to scheduling conflicts, so we'll see what she says. But let's bring out Jeff Cogliati. Jeff Cogliati, are you there? If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My address is 18 Yorkville Avenue, Unit 214 in Toronto, Ontario.
Okay. If you can tell us give a brief presentation on the merits of this application, because we do have someone here to speak to this, and there is a letter of objection.
Sure, happy to. And thank you for your time today. So I am here representing the owners of the home. They recently built a new two-story home on the property. And during the construction of that home, unfortunately, they were misled by their contractor, who told them that he had, in fact, had a permit to construct a rear yard cabana and do some paving around the cabana and around the pool in the backyard. Through the construction of that cabana, building official, I guess, was notified or stopped by the site and noticed that this structure was being built without a permit, so it was subsequently stopped. And that is why we're here today. Is we're now trying to get it approved, hopefully, so that they can just kind of continue on to finalize the construction of that cabana. And I just wanted to note, so the owners also, they're currently pursuing legal claim against the builder because of this. So I think that's all I'm going to say about it at this time.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, if not, let's move on to the next speaker, who's coming on by video, I believe. It's Dana Albert. Dana Albert, are you there? If you can come online and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good morning. My name is Dana Albert, and I have lived at 148 Glen Park Avenue for over 22 years. I have several concerns that address both of the variances requested. Firstly, the application form dated March 31st, 2023 states to propose a new rear cabana. And although I understand Jeff spoke to that issue, the fact of the matter is that this cabana is now fully built. It's not proposed. It is a fait accompli, and it's been a fait accompli for at least a year. My photo number 1 in my submission shows that it began construction in 2021, and then I have some more recent photos that show the completed cabana. So I did have just a comment, and I don't totally understand the difference between a submission and an after the fact submission, because it seems to me that this is really an after the fact submission because the building is complete. So that was my first concern about accuracy of this application. For my second concern, I referenced the architect's plans dated April 21st, 2023, and the code name is CA Plans. Now, these plans do not reflect what has already been built in the backyard. So on page 1 of the architect's drawing, and you may, if possible, need to enlarge page 1 to zero in on the backyard. It does not show that almost the entirety of the backyard, including the area under the existing huge cabana, is completely covered in concrete, except for a very small strip along the side and back edges of the property, which may be, I mean, I haven't been in their backyard, but to me it looks like it's maybe half a meter or less wide along the edges, and not even of the full backyard. So I estimate that the area in the backyard available for softscaping, considering all of this concrete, is probably somewhere between 5 and 10%, not the 50% in the bylaws, and not the 27.55% that this submission is requesting as a minor variance. And my photos number 2 and 3 substantiate that it's almost entirely covered in concrete. In my view, this is not a minor variance. It does not support the purpose of the city's zoning code and bylaws or the official plan of the city if it is to, the intention is to help maintain residential green space. My third concern is that this can you hear me? Okay. My third concern, is this property was granted several variances in 2019. The number of that is A0360/19NY. And at that time, they were granted to increase the floor plan of the new build by 2 feet. So this already reduced the availability of area for softscaping beyond what is currently being discussed. Number 3, sorry, that was number 3. Number 4, I have a kind of question comment, and that is about the cabana itself. Now, understandably, it's been built without a permit. I don't know if a permit is being sought. It's not being discussed in this application, but it is huge. By the architect's drawing, it's almost 350 square feet. It's 12.5 feet high. It soars above the property line of the fence. I find it quite an eyesore. And I'm just wondering whether such a huge backyard structure is permitted within North York's building code. So to summarize my concerns, this application erroneously states that it is a proposal when it's a fait accompli. The reduction in the softscaping of the backyard is not to 27.55%, but to less than 10%, probably closer to 5%. And then addressing the first variance requested, it's stating, based on inaccurate numbers, that the proposed lot coverage is 35% rather than the required 43.25%, whereas, sorry, no, I've got that backward. Anyway, what I'm
sorry,
saying
I'll
is
ask
that
you
the
to
proposed lot
summarize,
coverage
please.
is larger.
Please summarize.
Yes, I am summarizing. Yes, I summarized my first 3 points. My fourth point is that there's an error in their proposed lot coverage. They're saying that the coverage is maximum lot coverage is 35%, but it is much less than that because they've based that on the wrong numbers of available softscaping in the backyard, which is now almost entirely concrete.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions? If not, I just wanted to double check that with city staff around Nancy Teodoro, I guess she's not on. right? I mean, she wasn't ready, and I don't think she's going to be there, right?
Through you, Madam Chair, Nancy did inform us she is unable to join, but she is strongly in support of this application, and she requested that her letter of support be shown briefly on the screen.
Okay, so there's the support that's coming in from Nancy and Dennis Teodoro for this application. Okay. All right, that being said, let's get the agent back on, Jeff Coliati. Mr. Coliati,
Sure,
you've heard what Ms. Albert had to say, and if you can address her concerns.
Sure, absolutely. I'll try to go point by point. So first of all, these drawings have been reviewed by a zoning examiner. We had a fair bit of back and forth, and they agreed with our calculations. And I think part of the confusion is that I believe, sorry, Ms. Albert that just spoke, was not factoring in that the pool is actually considered softscaping under the zoning bylaw. So perhaps that may be part of the confusion there. Second is that the cabana is not finished. So it was constructed, and at the time of the building inspector stopping by the site and telling them to stop construction, the building inspector did tell them at the time, since they had the material on the site, that they could go ahead with the metal cladding around the wood that had been constructed to protect it. So they did, and they stopped. And I believe there were some photos uploaded in my cover letter that kind of captures that. So you can see on the inside of the cabana, it's all still exposed wood on the inside. It's just been the exterior elements that have been clad to protect it. Excuse me. Lastly, I just wanted to add that there's been a fair bit of work that the homeowner has done to make sure, just given the amount of paving that the contractor put in, that it was all being drained properly, that the grading was all done properly. So they actually brought in a grading engineer to make sure that all of the drainage was properly managed, so that it's not kind of affecting the neighbors. Yeah, there you can see it. The photo kind of captures the interior of the cabana. You could still see that it's all exposed wood on the inside there. So it's really just the structural elements that have been clad, just so that they wouldn't be compromised due to the elements. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions? Okay. If no further questions, again, to summarize, there's 2 variances, 1 letter of objection, and you've heard what the member had to say, and you've heard the rebuttal. There is 1 motion of support. Can I get a motion from members, please? Okay, motion from member Attarodi.
Yes, to you, Madam Chair. I carefully listened to the applicant and also the neighbors, and I'm looking at the variance. I'm still not convinced that this proposed rear yard landscaping of 27.55% is minor, and also the lot coverage. I also have a little bit of concern of lot coverage. Therefore, my motion will be to refuse this application.
Okay, motion from member Attarodi to refuse this application. Can I get a seconder for that? Seconded by member Manning. All those in favor? Okay, unanimously approved. Unanimously refused. So your application, Mr. Cogliati, has been refused. Okay, thank you, members. Let's move on then to item number 12, which is number 78 RJ Crescent. 78 RJ Crescent, members, is An application to construct a new dwelling. Please note that there are 6 variances. There is a July 6th staff report asking for some modifications as well as a forestry report. Can I get Ali Shakiri out? There's no one else to speak to this application, members. Mr. Shakiri, if you can state your name and address for the record.
Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, do you require a presentation on this? But I'm going to ask Mr. Shakiri if there's any modifications as well. If you can state what those are right now.
Yes, we went through this in length with the planning department, and the changes are as follows. Variance number 2 is going to be reduced from 27.91 down to 25.91 meters, so 2 meters less.
Okay.
Variance number 3 also is going to be modified from 34.7 meters down to 32.5 meter, more than 2 meters. Variance number 4 will be entirely removed.
Okay.
And that's about it.
All right, so variance number 2, members, has been changed to 25.91 meters. Variance number 3, 32.5 meters, and variance number 4 has been eliminated. Okay, members, with that, do you require a presentation? They've met sort of the staff report. There's a forestry, 6 variances, no one to speak to it. If no presentation is required, can I get a motion? Motion from member Attarodi.
Yes, to you, Madam Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with the following changes. Variance number 2, the building length is now 25.91 meter. Variance number 2, the building depth is 32.5 meter, and variance number 4 have been eliminated and also subjected to urban forestry.
Okay, thank you. Motion from member Attarodi to approve with those changes, seconded by member Bartolo. All those in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved with those changes, Mr. Shakiri. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Members, let's move on to item number 13, and this is number 7, Moccasin Trail. And this is an application to construct a 2nd-story addition, attached garage, and interior alteration. Members, there's no one else to speak to this application. It's 2 variances, and we do have a transport report. However, that recommends deferral unless city staff has something new. This is the July 6th is what we've got. Let's bring out the agent, Maren Zabzuni. Mr. Zabzuni, are you there? No, sorry. Gregory Davidovich. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Gregory Davidovich. Can you
call me Greg? It's Greg. Yeah.
Okay, if you can state your address as well for our records.
101 Robert Hicks Drive.
Okay, thank you so much. Sir, did you see the transport report? Maybe city staff can pull that up on the screen of July 6th.
Yes, I do see it. It's regarding the curb cut.
Yes.
We will not be proposing any curb cuts, so the existing curb cut is sufficient. The only requirement after talking to the zoning examiner was the garage width to match, or the driveway width to match the new garage. The curb cut that's there is plenty sufficient, and we wouldn't be proposing a new one.
Okay, I'm just making sure that we're pulling this up here for members to see exactly what's being spoken about. If we can make that larger for members. Right, so that's July 6th.
Frontage.
If we can go down, please. And so the conclusions is sorry, can you make that a little bit larger? Yeah, okay, sorry. One more down.
So on our site plan, I believe transportation, they never communicated with me, but I believe they interpreted the curb cut on the site plan as a proposed curb cut, but we're not proposing any curb cuts on the site.
Okay, I'm trying to determine where I had seen. Okay, yes, so that is it. We don't have, even if you're not proposing any curb cuts, committee is still, transportation is still asking for a deferral, and we haven't received anything new that has been submitted by transport to talk about, your updated conversation with them or any other new developments. So bearing that in mind, committee member, is there anything else you'd like to say to this application?
Yeah, so
Yeah, go ahead.
the application is for a side yard setback to reduce it to the 1.54 to match the existing setback of the house. The only reason the driveway width came into a variance is because the garage was supposed to match the driveway. Like I said, I just pulled up the transportation report now. They never sent it to me, but I can, if as a condition, we can absolutely make a note that there's no curb cuts that will be made.
I will leave that to committee members to decide how they wish to interpret the transport report in light of there being nothing else and us not having any feedback on what your interactions with them was about or what your intentions are. This is what
The
we
other thing
have.
too is the driveway.
Yes, go ahead.
The driveway width is existing. The driveway width is existing.
Okay.
We're actually not proposing even to widen the driveway. So the driveway is not being touched. It's an existing driveway that's there.
Okay, again, let me see. I see members wishing to ask questions, beginning with Member Manning.
I want to confirm both the curb cut and the driveway are existing conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Member Bartolo, I thought I saw your hand up. Was there something you wanted to ask?
Oh, I'm just ready for a motion.
Yeah, me too. Go ahead.
All right, so let's start then with Member Bartolo. If there's no other questions,
Sure.
Member Bartolo, go ahead.
Yeah, in regard to this transportation, it was an existing condition. They're just adding to the existing house. I don't see any reason to hold up everything based on just some labeling clarifications on the drawings. I'll put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the condition that the applicant provide the labels noted in item number 1 in the conclusion section of the report, of the transportation report.
Okay. Motion from Member Bartolo to approve this application and subject to item number 1 of the July 6th transportation report only. Can I get someone to second that? Seconded by Member Manning. All those in favor? Unanimously approved with those specific conditions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item number 14. And item number 14 is 118 Avondale Avenue, sorry. And members, this is an application, of course, to construct a new dwelling. Please note that there are 6 variances. Forestry does apply. There is a June 29th staff report recommending modifications of items number 2, 4, and 5, or they recommend refusal if this is not done. There are 5 letters of support and 1 letter of objection, and we do have someone here to speak to this application. Let's get out Marin Zabzuni, the agent. Mr. Zabzuni, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
This is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Mr. Zabzuni, if you can provide us with a brief presentation on the merits of your case. We do have someone here to speak to this, and we also, if you can start by telling us what modifications you're making and then present if there's anything additional that you'd like to say.
Absolutely. So we're proposing a 2-story dwelling, very typical in massing in the area. We worked very closely with city planning, hence the staff report, confirming that our latest revisions that we did submit along with a waiver is exactly as the staff report says, where we reduced item number 2 lot coverage from 36.96% now down to 32%.
Okay, lot coverage, item number 2, down to 32%. What else?
Correct. And item number 4 and 5, which are the same variants, the main wall height reduced from 8.84 meters to 8.00 meters for both item 4 and 5.
Okay, so you've complied with the staff report. Any other changes?
No, that's it. Essentially, we worked closely with them. The owner also spoke with neighbors around in the area to gain support. We believe that what we're proposing meets the 4 tests. There's many existing dwellings. We've provided supporting material and charts to show evidence of these variances being quite typical in the area. And happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Members, do you have any questions at this time? Noting that variances number 2 has been reduced to 32%. Variances number 4 and 5 are now reading 8 meters. If nothing, then let's move on to the next speaker noted. Speaker Mauro Scanga. Is there a Mauro Scanga? If you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Mauro Scanga, 122 Avondale Avenue.
Okay.
Firstly, the document submitted. Yep. Firstly, the document submitted to the committee refer to the east adjacent property as 120 Avondale. In fact, the civic address is 122 Avondale, of which I'm the legal owner of. Thanks for considering my letter dated July 6th, outlining the reason for my objection. The facts are the current proposed structure is within the tree protection zone of a boundary tree, so there's a conflict that exists, and I don't consent to the removal or harming of the boundary tree. Just for scale, the tree is 60 centimeters, 2 feet in diameter, and the canopy extends approximately 50 feet in diameter, 15 meters. For the record, I'm not objecting to the removal of any other tree outlined in the proposal related to 118 Avondale Avenue. Thanks for listening to my concerns.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions? There being none, let's get the agent back on. Mr. Zabzuni, you've heard what Mr. Scanga has had to say. We'll give you a few minutes to rebut if needed.
Yes, essentially we'll have to work with urban forestry to come to a conclusion of what's required. I know typically on a boundary tree, permission is required from the neighbor. So if they don't provide that to urban forestry, then essentially we'd have to look at working with the foundation wall in a way to not remove the tree, but the arborist will be in charge of that, working with forestry. So we will need that condition essentially met with forestry in order to even get building permit. So we'll do what we can. And just to add a note, we do comply with that side yard setback. I believe it's been more than required. We have 1.42 meters where 1.2 is required, I believe. So it's not a variance there, but again, we'll have to go through the proper channels with urban forestry on this item.
Okay, thank you for that. It will be subject to forestry as we've noted. Members, do you have any questions of Mr. Zabzuni? There being none, please note the changes that I've repeated a couple of times that's already made to address the staff report of June 29th. 5 letters of support, 1 letter of objection for which the gentleman spoke. It is subject to forestry. Conditions, 6 variances. Can I get a motion, please? Motion from Member Bartolo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Seeing as the applicant has met the conditions of the staff report and made those modifications, I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the following revisions and conditions. Variance number 2 reduced to 32%, variance number 4 reduced to 8 meters, variance number 5 reduced to 8 meters, and subject to the conditions of the urban forestry memo attached.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Motion from Member Bartolo to approve this application subject to those conditions. All those in favor? Seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Unanimously approved with those conditions. Thank you so much, Mr. Zabzumi. Your application has been approved. And members, just 2 more left for the morning session. Let's move on then to item number 15. Item number 15 is 293 Brook Avenue. Please note, members, 293 Brook Avenue has 3 variances. This is an application to construct a new dwelling, and there are forestry conditions. There is 1 letter of objection, and there are a couple of area residents who wish to speak to this application. I'll bring out Ali Shakiri once again, and just for the record, state your name and address, Mr. Shakiri.
Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and if you can provide us with a brief presentation on the merits of this application.
Indeed, if the staff can turn this to the last page of my support documents, there is an error on the public notice. It's not completely in line with the waiver that we submitted. There are some additional text, and we have asked that variance for the wall, for all main walls. It's mentioning only side main walls. You can cross-check that with the staff. What we requested from the committee was all exterior main walls, not just the side main walls. So I'm just asking if it's a possibility of fixing this. Then the amount of the variance remains the same, that 9.39 is correct, and the permittable wall height is correct, that's 7.5 meters. That aside, there is a case study we submitted. There are evidence of the similar variances, actually more than what we are proposing here, approved in the area. We did the case study to make sure we are not proposing any variance that's setting a new precedent. I read the letter from the neighbors. I think the only issue I want to state here is regarding the height. If we go to the first page of my support document, there is a graph. The first page, and the wall height that my support document. Yes, that's the page. The variance, the wall height variance that you're asking here is actually assisting us to reduce the building mass. What I've shown here in red is the additional building mass that I have to add to this building in order to comply. Basically, by doing this, I can entirely remove that variance number 2, and this is truly a technical variance. I have provided that rationale for very many other projects during the years. I'm sure you're very, very well familiar with this. Therefore, I think that variance number 2, with regards to the wall height, is only a technical variance. And the coverage variance also, as I mentioned, we have proposed it according to a case study that we have, and I think it meets the 4 test. I hope that you feel the same way. I have no further comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Shakiri. Members, do you have any questions? Member Kidd, go ahead.
I just wonder if we could get an opinion from Mr. Lamb as to whether this notice needs to be, the public notice needs to be redistributed because that change to variance number 2.
Through you, Madam Chair, I understand the only change that's requested is substituting the word "the" for the word "all" so that it matches the matches the permitted. Is that correct, Mr. Shakiri?
Yes, and if you can also delete that bracket 2 that is appearing after the chapter number, then it would be exactly in accordance to my waiver.
That's fine.
No, my understanding is that the proposed variance applies to the front wall of the house as well, not just the side walls.
That's correct.
You're asking for the side walls, but in the public notice, but in reality, it's going to include the front and rear walls as well.
That's correct, sir. This variance we're asking here is in accordance to the recent changes of the zoning bylaw 569/2013 that were approved by TLAB on November 30th, 2022. So the way it works is previously, prior to that time, and still actually that bracket 2 that you see over there is still in effect. That allows us, that bracket 2, allows us to have all the front and the rear main walls up to 10 meters height, as long as the side walls are lower than 7.5 meters for 70% of the side walls. Basically, we can have the entire front and rear wall up to 10-meter height, as well as 30% of the side walls of this house or any similar house can go up to 10-meter height. Just 70% of the side walls can be reduced to 7.5 meters. I mean that is a valid section of the zoning bylaw, and that is what you see on the face of the zoning public notice. Our intention was to ask the same variance on the bracket 4, and that is a new provision. If you notice on my elevations, which I mean, I don't mind if they're tied to this decision, they don't go any higher than 9.39 centimeters, meters, sorry, which, yes, on the side walls, I'm raising the height, but the front and rear walls are also going to be reduced in the height from 10 meters to 9.39. I hope that I answered your question, but if there is anything not clear, I can explain.
Yeah, I don't pretend to understand much of that at all. I guess my question would remain with Mr. Lamb, if he feels that the public notice is adequate in this situation.
Mr. Shakiri, through you, I just want to confirm again, you're requesting that the second line, proposed height of the side exterior, you just want that to match the top line, is that correct? Height of all?
Well, if you please turn the page to the last page of my support material, that I made very clear what needs to be deleted from this. So basically, you have to delete some words because it's mentioning side, and those sides are confusing. On my waiver, I'm not asking for sides, it's all. So if those words that I cross-lined are deleted, they're all basically talking about the side. I don't think anything is going to be changed. Only on that last line, the side changes to all. You can display my waiver and it shows what I asked. or you can replace it with the one that I wrote on my waiver. Whichever way is fine by me. And in any case, the variance figure is not going to be changed. That's 9.39 only.
Okay, the Deputy Secretary Treasurer is, with these specific changes, is not aware of what the implications could be. In the meantime, while he's collecting his thoughts on this and rereading that, members, if you have no further questions, the Deputy Secretary Treasurer will get back to us. Let's get on to the next speaker that's there. There's a couple of folks here to speak. And let's talk to Hemang Patel. If you can state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Hemang Patel, and I am the neighbor to, I live currently actually at 291 Brook Avenue, which is the neighboring actually property to the west side of Affirmation property. I have a couple of things actually I wanted to actually say. I myself also got the notification actually pretty late that was actually mailed to me, so I wasn't able to provide any written actually correspondence. But I appreciate the opportunity today to speak to what I would have actually put in writing. I have a couple of actually concerns. One is what we just actually referenced, which is regards to the height. The height being proposed actually of 9.39 versus what I hear is the maximum permitted is 7.5 meters. That has two impacts actually on my property with regards to the east side of my property, which is the west side actually of the building. It does, given the height, it may actually encroach on the windows that I currently actually have, allowing the property to see directly into my property. So there's a question actually around privacy. It also actually has an impact given the height of potentially shadowing, and as a result, will actually impede the level of light actually into that side of my home. In particular, where I have concerns is that the central staircase that has two large windows would be actually obscured. Light will actually be limited and would result actually in a fairly dark interior as a result. I also have questions actually around the excavation. By digging actually further down, I hear that there's going to be a downward grading actually here with the garage. There's going to be extensive excavation. That's going to be fairly deep excavation. There is a very large tree in the rear yard. So the amount of excavation, I just want to be absolutely clear that does not have any kind of impact on my home with regards to vibration or potential subsidence kind of issues when doing the excavation. And then lastly, I want to just highlight actually that I do have some concerns with regards to the side yard to the east of my property. That's the west of actually the proposed property. In terms of the setbacks, again, I think some property lines have been actually drawn, but I would like to get further clarification of what would be actually done, in regards to the space between the two properties. That point in particular, I could work out and get more information actually from the developer. But my major concern is really around the height of this particular property and the potential shadowing impact that it would have and the light degradation it would have into my home. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, if not, let's move on to the next speaker, Barry Goldlist. Mr. Goldlist, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, we were not able to get in touch with Barry Goldlist.
Okay, so he's not here. All right. Then let's move back on to Mr. Shakiri. And Mr. Shakiri, you've heard what Mr. Patel has had to say, and you've heard some of the concerns that were raised where the Deputy Secretary Treasurer is involved. If you care to comment on all of those, we'll give you a 5-minute time frame. Go ahead.
Sure. If we can have the site plan of the proposed house displayed. the site plan, page 801. And sorry, the survey, please. My apology. So this is perfect. So you see both of the houses on the side, including that number 291, are very long houses, and we are not basically making the house any longer than those. Perhaps a little bit less steep than the neighboring houses. So it's very well sitting between the two houses. No side yard variance requested here, and with regards to the vibrations, well, there are bylaw enforcement, and there are some standards that are going to be dealt with at the building permit stage. That I don't believe is the concern of the Committee of Adjustment. The only thing that I hear repeatedly is the height, the issue of the height. This house, I repeat again, can be 10 meters height. By approving my proposal, this house is going to be 61 centimeters lower than as high this house could be as of right. And once again, this is a technical variance. I'm asking to reduce the building mass. I refer you to the first page of my support material again, if it can be displayed. And that is clearly showing the additional building mass in complete compliance with the section 10/20/40/10 and requires no variance for the height. So I reworded, let's say, if the panel moves to approve this case without the variance number 2, then we're just looking at a house that is physically larger. And that's what we have been trying to reduce the building mass. This is going to be good for the neighbors, and it is also beneficial for the owner of this house, which is my client, by reducing their cost and also articulating the type of architecture that we are after. So I hope that you move to approve this, and I have no further comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, do you have any questions?
Sorry, just one
Yes.
more thing,
Go ahead.
very important thing I forgot to mention. If Mr. Lam, after reviewing about the technicality of changing that variance number 2, if it is not possible to change on the floor, then I take that variance number 2 as it is. Otherwise, I'd be very happy if it's changed the way that was on my waiver. Otherwise, I take the variance the way it is appearing on the notice. Thank you.
Okay, I'll allow Mr. Lam to weigh in. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Chair. Because of these changes, and I was just looking at the waiver as well during this time, I would be hesitant to modify it in any way, shape, or form because it is a waiver. So I would suggest Mr. Shakiri's suggestion that it be left alone. I would go with that.
Okay, members.
It's agreeable to me too.
Okay. Members, do you have any questions of either Mr. Shakiri or Mr. Lam? Okay, that being said, I think you've heard everything that you need to for this application. With that, can I get a motion, please? Member Kidd with a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to forestry condition.
Member Kidd with a motion to approve the application with forestry conditions. Can I get someone to second that? Seconded by Member Bartolo. All those in favor? And dissenting or opposed? Member Attarodi dissents. Mr. Shakiri, your application has been approved with those conditions. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your time.
No problem. Members, can we look at the final application for today, for this morning's session, and that's application number 16, which is 55 to 65 Ellerslie Avenue. And this is a proposal to reduce parking requirements to add a garbage storage rooms and bike parking. Please note there's no one here to speak to this application. There's just one variance. Noted, no other conditions. And I'd like to invite the agent. And the agent is Scott Pomeroy. Mr. Pomeroy, are you there? If you can state your name and address for our records, please.
Hello, sorry, can you hear me? You cut out there, but I assume you asked for my name and address. Good afternoon, I'm Scott Pomeroy from 883 Pape Avenue.
Yes, thank you. I think, members, do you require a presentation or just some details on this? They don't require a presentation. Is there anything else you'd like to say to them before they take this into committee for consideration?
Just super briefly, it's an existing condition. This is an existing condition of garbage areas that Toronto Fire noticed and requires a room around these areas. So in order to do that, it takes up these parking spaces, or 10 parking spaces rather. There's about 60% usage of parking currently, so it doesn't affect any of the current usage of the parking garage. And I don't know if I said that these areas have been there for 15 to 20 years, and so we're simply legitimizing it so that we can build proper enclosures around the garbage areas, and at the same time there's some bike parking. So we wanted to request for reduction of car parking so that we could have bike parking areas as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that. If there are no other questions, members, I think it's a pretty straightforward application. Can I get a motion, please? Motion from Member Bartolo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will forward a motion to approve this application with no conditions.
Okay, motion from Member Bartolo to approve without conditions, seconded by Member Manning. All those in favor? Sir, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you so much. Members?
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great lunch. I'll see you back here at 2 o'clock. Thank you.